Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be answering some of your questions. So without wasting any time, let's get started. We have our first question from Isaac Wilson. You didn't choose to be born, so why did God send you? When I think about this question, I realize that nobody ever gets to choose to be born or not. We don't even get to decide where to be born. It's all up to God because He is our maker. He is our God. So even if you did not choose to be born, you are here. It means that you have a purpose. God has a plan for you and you are special. It means that you were in His mind even before the foundations of the world. Nobody is born by accident. Everyone in this world has a reason to exist. So if you're here, it's for a good reason. So the answer to this question is that it's because He loves me and He wants me to exist. He wants me to exist in Him and for Him. Even though I did not choose Him, He chose me. We have our second question from Call Me Zen. The positive impact after knowing Jesus. I knew about Jesus ever since I was a little girl, but I did not know Jesus. For me, Jesus was all about going to church, singing songs, reading Bible stories, memorizing Bible verses, but I did not really know what the cross meant. I even wrote a song about it called Picture on a Calendar. For me, the best thing about knowing Jesus is knowing why I exist. I exist to worship Him, to give Him glory, and to have a relationship with Him. And that's the only thing I need to know in order to have a satisfied and a full life. I am complete in Him. It does not mean I never fail. As a human, yes, I fail sometimes. I fall, but He picks me up. Even when I cannot walk, He carries me. I mean, what can be more satisfying than to know why I was made and whom I was made for? So the positive impact after knowing Jesus is that I am content. I lack nothing. Jesus is my everything, and He is all I need, and He is all that I will ever need. Now let's move on to the next question. That is from Rupam Christian Sona. What is actual worship in the sight of Yahweh? Let's look at John chapter 4 verses 23 and 24.
Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and His worshippers must worship in spirit and in truth.
Singing to Him is definitely worship, but is that all? What is true and proper worship? Let's look at Romans chapter 12 verse 1.
Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship.
How do we do that? Whom do we sacrifice for? Don't we sacrifice for the people we love and care about? Love, that is the bottom line. We cannot worship without loving. Singing a perfect song to Him is not worship if you don't do it out of love for Him. But even if you do a simple task, keeping in mind that you are doing that for Him and not for people, if you do it out of love for Him, that can be an act of worship. So true worship is not about what you do, but how you do it and why you do it. It's all about the attitude of your heart. Are you doing it out of love for Him?
Jesus replied, Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment.
What can be greater than the first and the greatest commandment in the Bible? It's all about loving God. Love is what He desires of us the most. Asiangami says, street report about Jesus if possible. You guys must have seen my street interview video where I asked strangers, total strangers, about Jesus. I may not look like an introvert in my videos, but I'm actually I'm extremely introverted. It's almost impossible for me to walk up to a stranger and strike up a conversation. So when God gave me this idea about the street interview, I should have been terrified, right? But I don't know, to my surprise, I was not. I was up for it and I was really excited to do this interview. And I don't know how, but I was able to boldly, I know how. God helped me definitely. I was able to boldly interview the people in the streets. And I was shocked myself. I was amazed at myself how I was able to do that. When I watched that video, I was like, who is this person interviewing the strangers? Is that me? Is that me doing that? And obviously it was not me, it was God helping me do that. So definitely God helped me. And by the way, I did not talk to them ever again after that interview, so I don't know how much that impacted them, but all I know is God is working in their lives. As Mark 4:26-27 says, it's my job to cast the seeds, and it is God's job to, let the seeds grow. So it's up to God only. All I can do is pray for them. Now we have the last and the final question from Paul Lonko. He asks, but about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. Why did Jesus say that, if Jesus is God too? Well, to answer this question, I actually had to do some research because I do not know about it and I never actually thought about it. So let me just show you what I found by doing this research. It's from godquestions.org. Speaking of his second coming, Jesus said, no one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. The Bible clearly teaches that Jesus is God, and we know that God is omniscient. So it seems strange that Jesus would say that he did not know when he would return. The key to understanding Jesus' seeming lack of knowledge in this matter lies in the nature of the incarnation. When the Son of God became a man, he remained fully God, but he also took on a true human nature. Jesus retained all the attributes of divinity, yet as a man, he voluntarily restricted their use. This was part of the self-emptying or self-renunciation spoken of in Philippians 2:6-8. When Christ entered our world, he laid aside the privileges that had been his in heaven. Rather than stay on his throne in heaven, Jesus made himself nothing. When he came to earth, he gave up his divine privileges. He veiled his glory and he chose to occupy the position of a servant. There were times when Jesus publicly manifested his divine knowledge and power on earth. On those occasions, Jesus' demonstrations of his divinity were directed by the Father. On other occasions, he had no such directive from the Father. He kept his glory veiled. On all occasions, Jesus obeyed the Father's will. I always do what pleases him, he said. So when Jesus said he did not know when he would return, he was actively humbling himself and taking the form of a servant. Since no other mortal knows the time of Jesus' return, that information is the Father's alone. Jesus voluntarily restricted his knowledge on that point. It was part of Jesus' submission to the Father and his mission to live a human life. Some things Jesus apparently chose to give up the rights. The knowledge of when he would return was one of those things. Jesus, now exalted in heaven, surely knows all, including the timing of his second coming. I think this makes sense because Jesus, even though he was God, he was fully human as well. He was born on this earth as a human. When Jesus was born, I don't think he was able to walk or speak, right away because he's God. But I think, he had to learn all these as a human. He was not omnipresent either. He voluntarily restricted himself of some things, including this knowledge about his second coming. But now, after his resurrection, he definitely knows the timing of his second coming because he's now in the fully divine nature. Not that he was not before, but, as I've already read it out to you, it was because he restricted himself. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for your precious questions and thank you so much for watching till the end. I really had a very good time answering all this. And yeah, I also got to learn a lot about so many things through this video, including this Jesus not knowing his timing of the second coming. My name is Leche Koza. See you in the next video. Bye.